Hey, I'm Amanda from Trifecta Fitness. We're proud to be Clarksville's new Get Fit headquarters. Trifecta Fitness is a state-of-the-art spin and strength training studio. Our spin studio is truly one of a kind in this area, complete with 20 state-of-the-art live fitness bikes and an incredible sound system. Our strength training is done in small groups of 6 or fewer, and all of our strength and spin classes are scalable for every level of experience. Come see us in the heart of Clarksville, just behind MAPCO at the corner of Old Trenton Road and Wilma Rudolph Boulevard. Call us for more info at 931-542-6265 or download our Trifecta Fitness app for a full list of upcoming classes.
In October 2019, Arlington, Texas was chosen to be the home of a new national museum, unlike any other. The National Medal of Honor Museum will be a unique home of military history. The 100,000 square foot museum will house exhibits, archives, and artifacts relating to the 3,500 U.S. troops who have been awarded the medal, the nation's highest honor for valor in combat. The museum will have 31,000 square feet of galleries dedicated to U.S. troops who have received the award. The museum CEO, former Navy SEAL and NASA astronaut Chris Cassidy, said the museum will focus on education as much as preservation. The building will have 5 areas dedicated to Medal of Honor winners from the Army, Marine Corps, Navy, Air Force, and Coast Guard. The main gallery will be located in a central plaza under a 25,000 square foot slab of steel, which will appear to be suspended in midair. It will be supported by 5 pillars. Black Rifle Coffee is a corporate sponsor of the museum, as are the Dallas Cowboys. The museum's board also includes over a dozen major corporations and 6 Medal of Honor recipients, including David Bellavia, Patrick Brady, and Britt Slabinski. Army Staff Sergeant Bellavia was awarded the medal for clearing an entire house by himself on November 10, 2004, as a squad leader in support of Operation Phantom Fury in Fallujah, Iraq. He killed 4 enemy fighters and wounded a 5th in close quarters battle. Army Major General Brady flew and coordinated the evacuation of 51 seriously wounded men during a firefight in Vietnam in January 1968. Slabinski, a Navy SEAL chief and team leader, led a rescue team of SEALs during Operation Anaconda in Afghanistan in March 2002. Slabinski and his team flew to a mountaintop ambush site to rescue Petty Officer First Class Neil Roberts, who had fallen from the back of a helicopter. Slabinski led the team through almost constant combat against an entrenched Taliban force. Along with the board members, former presidents Jimmy Carter, Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, and Barack Obama serve as honorary directors. The museum is expected to open to the public in late 2024.
All right. Welcome back.
Misfit Nation. The Misfit Nation show.
We are a show founded by a veteran and hosted by 2 veterans and a military spouse. Our mission is to get people to tell their stories to the world. If you're an author, share your tips with the Misfit Nation. If you're a musician or an actor, our audience needs to know how they too can get into the business. Coaches, we love our coaches. Come on and share your tips with the Misfit Nation to help them become better versions of themselves. If you are a corporate leader or an entrepreneur, come on and show how you did it and how hard you have fought for success. If you are a veteran, first responder, or Gold Star family, we would love to have you come on and share your story with the Misfit Nation. We always have time for you. If you're feeling down, alone, or starting to see the darkness, stop. Think about those who are around you. You are not alone. You will be missed. If you feel like your problems will be a burden to those in your inner circle or feel embarrassed, dial 988. If you are a veteran, take option 1. We need you to keep pushing forward. Don't make a permanent solution to a temporary problem. If you are a new listener, welcome to the Misfit Nation show. Be sure to subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast app. Also on our YouTube channel at @the_Misfit Nation. Subscribe and click the bell to keep you up to date on our latest episodes and all of our news. You can also find us on Heroes Media Group and About Face Radio. Now, let's get to the show!
All right. Welcome back to the Misfit Nation show. I mean, the ToosDay Crue show. I'm just another takeover here with Steve tonight. Jake is out. He had a family event tonight, so I have to sit in the seat and make like I know what I'm doing tonight and not just be behind the curtain. Steve, how are you tonight?
I'm good. I'm amazed. You're actually upright and smiling. It's pretty good for a Tuesday.
And right, every once in a while. As you know, when we start our shows now, we try to pay homage to those who we've lost in the line of duty here, first responders especially. We have another one, regretfully, Deputy Sheriff Brandon Cunningham, the Paulding County Sheriff's Office in Georgia. His end of watch is August 17th, 2024. So keep the family, friends, and co-workers of Deputy Sheriff Brandon Cunningham in your thoughts and prayers as you go through your day. So, Steve, if you don't mind, go ahead and do a little introduction for our guest tonight.
All right, tonight we have Jason Murff. He's a retired Army, and as my brother would say, when he got out, he didn't know what to do with his hands. He had a passion for cooking, and he went and he opened himself up. He's the founder of Grill Your Ass Off. So we're going to bring him in and let him tell us his story, and we'll go from there.
Oh yeah, welcome, Jason. How you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me.
It's awesome to have you here. And as we learned in the green room, we have a Kevin Bacon kind of connection with you, with a Sergeant First Class retired Jay Gillum. Congratulations on your retirement, Gillum. Hopefully you're having a great time out there drinking and doing great things that without having to put your boots on in the morning.
Yeah, he's old as shit. He needs a retirement.
Amen. All right. So, Jason, we just gave a little brief synopsis about you. Tell us a little more about you, from as far back as you want to go to joining the military to how we got to here now.
Yeah. So, pretty much like rewind kind of back to what got me into wanting to serve. I feel like everyone kind of has that story of like, what was that kind of turning point that got them to serve or want to at least serve. That was honestly Band of Brothers for me.
Wow.
That series, like and to correlate with that too, 9/11. So unlike our mutual connection, Jay, I was very young when 9/11 happened. So I was in 5th grade. And right around that time in like 5th grade was whenever I was kind of, my parents were letting me watch things that were a little bit more aggressive on TV. And I just remember every year you had it on Veterans Day, as well as Memorial Day. Like they always played the Band of Brothers series on it. And it was just like, man, that would be so awesome to be able to go and do that and like have a legacy like this. So that was kind of really my turning point. Fast forward, growing up as a teenager, I was very athletic, motivated, driven in that aspect, but also not hanging out with the right group of kids. So I also was not the best teenager growing up, got in a lot of trouble. My parents. What's that?
So I can relate to that.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, most of us who have served kind of have a similar upbringing. My parents owned a hardware store whenever I was growing up, ever since I was 1. And whenever I was 14, that was my punishment for doing a lot of dumb stuff is, hey, you're going to come work inside the hardware store. Worked there until I was about 16, 17, and decided to branch off on my own. I really got into welding and 3D engineering whenever I was in high school. Those were just kind of 2 aspects for me. I'm dyslexic and have ADHD and whatever else they want to label on top of the stuff. And whenever I was kind of going through middle school, that was like whenever people learned about a lot of that. So it was just, hey, take this drug. Hey, take that drug. Hey, you can't do this in school because you have this. And it was a lot of just being held back and not encouraging me to learn in those subjects that I struggled in. So I didn't care about them. I was like, cool, all I need is a 70 and I get the same piece of paper at the end of the day. So I excelled in like shop class and drafting class and started working in a machine shop, 3D engineering parts for MWD, measure while drilling for the oil field. and then ended up moving over to working on high performance diesel engines, the kind you see do drag racing, tractor pulls, all that kind of stuff. And then that kind of led me into the point to where I had my childhood best friend, who's still my best friend to this date, was on house arrest for a serious offense. And we realized, hey, like at 17, I can own a business and sign your PO papers and get you off a house arrest. So I bought a fireworks stand. And we started up a firework business that quickly led into, hey, I'm going to start a diesel shop. And basically just dumped all my every penny I had into this firework business and this diesel shop and went after it and thought I knew what entrepreneurship was, thought I knew how to run a business, do all this kind of stuff. And it was a shit show. But we made it work. We expanded that, grew that. And then I really kind of hit my burnout point doing that. Got rejected to community college because of all the help being held back in high school. And they basically said, hey, you can't do this. You're going to have to go through all these different courses before we can even talk to you here at this community college. Like, sorry, you're not worth our time. Had a real bad turnout with that. I never wanted to go to college, but that was one of the things, my parents being entrepreneurs and never going to school, they wanted me to have an easier life than them. So that kind of backfired because I didn't do that. And yeah, so after getting rejected from college, and then in 08, 09, we had a pretty bad financial crisis, and everyone went from saying, hey, I'm going to just throw money at you to do all this crazy stuff to these trucks to, hey guys, we're going to have to change oil and suspension to stay afloat. And I didn't get into it for, oil changes. So I kind of had a life check and said, the burning thing, I was 20 at that time. The burning thing deep down inside is I've always wanted to be in the infantry. Like that is that, period. So I decided one day, I was like, you know what? Hey, I'm just going to go to the recruiting station by the mall that we used to go to growing up. Walked in, went to the very first desk that I saw. And guy, Jason Gordon, still talk to him today. And I sat down and said, hey, I want to join the infantry. And he just looked up at me and he was like, why would you want to do that? And I was like, well, that's what all the cool guys do in the movies. So let me try that. And he was just like, this won't make sense now, but it'll make sense once you're in. And whenever you get out, you'll never meet another person like me doing my MOS. But if you would like to do something else, I can set you up with something else other than infantry. But if you're dead set on that, you can do it. And I was like, well, what do you do? And he was like, I make glasses.
What?
And so I've yet to meet another person who served in the Army that made birth control glasses, but they are out there.
Wow.
So he walked me through the whole entire process. Took a little bit longer than I expected to get in. I also raced motocross growing up, so I had a lot of metal plates inside of me. So the nickname for me at the recruiting station was Iron Man. And it always makes me laugh because you have the guys that are like, oh, I had asthma, I couldn't get in. Or, oh, I broke my leg and I couldn't get in. Like, motherfucker, I had a shattered collarbone with a plate inside of it. I broke my wrist like 2 days before I swore in. So I had to cut the cast off. Broken legs, like you name it. And like I disclosed it all going in because I was just like, yeah, whatever, here you go. And so you can get in with all of that kind of stuff. You just have to be patient with it and really want it. So yeah, that was whenever I was 20. Back in 2010, went through, did all the paperwork, ended up joining and shipping off March 5th, 2012. And then went to basic training, Fort Benning, Georgia. Went in as 11 Bravo or 11 X-ray. And went through that, went through AIT. Everything was great. Had an awesome group of guys that we went with. And there towards the end, they have us all in formation in the quad, and they're calling out everyone's duty station. And like everyone is going to either Campbell or Hawaii. And we both know like they're in rotations, like shit's popping off still. And we're like, fuck yeah, we're all going to go kick in some doors, shoot some fuckers in the face. I'm in 4 squad at this time. And Drill Sergeant Rutherford looks down at the clipboard once he finally gets to my name, looks up at me, looks back at the clipboard, looks back up at me. And he's like, Murph, why the fuck did you join the old guard? And I was just I don't know what the old guard is, Drill Sergeant. He was just like, you're going to stand there and look pretty and never fucking deploy. Ended up being a pretty true statement. But come to find out, whenever we were doing reception at 30th AG for that 2 weeks before you go to basic training, and for anyone listening who hasn't been through that, it's like 2 weeks of being able to do absolutely nothing. And if you think basic training or any other schools that you go to, that 2 week period is miserable in hell. Because you literally can't do anything but eat and stand. So during that period, they had a time to where we were in this auditorium and they said, hey, if you're 6 foot or taller, go in this room. If you're shorter, stay in this room. I'm 5'9", so I sat there, and that was the old guard briefing. So I had no idea what the old guard was, what they did, any of that kind of stuff. I spent the rest of my time during basic and AIT trying to get out of it, trying to not go. I did a lot of push-ups. And then I ended up shipping off. At that time, I had, dissolved my diesel business, still had my firework business, kind of handed that off to my sister to take care of that. And I just wanted to focus all in on this. I'm one of those kind of people, like if I set my mind to it, we're going to fucking crush it until either we make it there. And that was that. I ended up getting to the old guard, and a lot of people don't know, once you make it to the old guard, and I'm sitting here thinking like, cool, I'm out of basic, I'm out of AIT, I'm actually in the Army now. Like I don't have to do any more schools. Like life's great. I show up there and they're like, hey, you got to go to RIP. And I was like, RIP? I thought that was just like for, going to like a Ranger battalion. Like what is RIP? And they're like, no, it's regimental program. Yeah. And so it's like, shit. And then it's like, okay, cool. It's only 4 weeks. Oh, by the way, you started on week 0 for the first week. So it's actually 5 weeks. And it's like, come on. And for anyone who hasn't gone through that, like all that you do outside of eat and do very light PT is you learn how to prep a wool uniform, and you learn how to do a uniform better than anyone inside of the military. And it's like, hey, by the way, the last 13 weeks that you just spent learning drill and ceremony and all this cadence and everything like that, erase it, because we do a completely and totally different drill and ceremony here at the old guard than you do in the regular Army, because we have to make it complicated like that. So get there, have to knock that out. And then for graduation, a lot of people don't know, you do your uniform grade, and then outside of drill and ceremony, you do standing proficiency, which is basically, hey, stand perfectly still for, I think it's like 60 minutes, 90 minutes. And you have a guy right there in front of your face walking back and forth grading you. Once you graduated from that, you get selected to whatever company you're going to. And then I got told, hey, you're going to a hotel company. Cool. Went over to a hotel company, and that's where I met our buddy Jay.
Wow. It's funny that, your recruiter was I guess optometrist, I guess, whatever. I never heard of that either. And I would think that would be a shortage MOS where they can't afford to lose them to be recruiters.
Right. That's that's something that I don't know. I just never seen that, and I don't think I ever will again.
No, unless you still have his picture in your wallet. It's the only way you'll ever see it again. So
no, it was funny because like fast forward, I get out of the military, and like he had hit me up while I was checked in with me, like super, super nice guy. He lived like 4 houses down from my sister, and I had no idea until after I got out of the military, and they were doing like a fireworks show in the neighborhood. And I look over, I'm like, this guy looks so familiar. And I was like, oh shit, that's my recruiter.
Let's see if he can make me some glasses. All right.
Thank you. We don't need those.
Jay said you guys made that place look good.
Oh, damn straight.
There's already a question from Exon here from Killcliff99. Wants to know if you ever got to tackle someone at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier.
So, fun fact, there's a height requirement at the tomb. I fall below that, so I never physically guarded the tomb during a day shift. And I believe Jay did this with me. We actually guarded it on a night shift because they take off. Basically, like the tomb sentinels only have like 1 day off outside of their rotation, to where like all of them are off at the same time. And it's whenever they do their Christmas party. So we will actually volunteer to go cover down for that. And then we take rotations guarding the tomb.
So actually, tackle any of the disrespecting kids that go up there. So it's good.
Yeah. No,
and from the videos I've seen, it's not just kids, it's grown-ass adults that do stupid things.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. Yeah. I will, I'll keep it somewhat PC, but like the shit that you see in that cemetery would blow y'all's minds. But it's, I mean, you got a bunch of civilians in there, and then you also got a bunch of grunts. So it's one of those things.
That's definitely one of those things. So it was up there where you realized that you had a knack for cooking as well at Fort Belvoir. Since somehow you were the only Texan there. I don't understand how that happened either. Only Texan in a unit. I've never was in a unit with only one Texan. No matter where I went in the world, I always had at least 2 or 4 of them in the unit, and they all either they hated Dallas or they loved Dallas. So it was kind of weird.
Yeah, it's super weird. Like there wasn't really a lot of people from Texas with us, and it was one of those things. Like we would go our quad outside of our company area. We had a gas grill inside of there. We had a single oven that kind of worked inside the barracks. And then obviously a microwave inside the barracks room. And, you know, for the first part there, like if we'd hang out and like have a barbecue on the weekends there at the barracks, like people would bring like a brat and they'd be like, yeah, guys, I brought some stuff for a barbecue. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. What are you doing?
Here you go.
Yeah. So it's like, we would have that. And then I would go and like make like real, like stuff you would bring to a grill or a barbecue. And then once we got our off-post housing and we had a townhouse, like we went and we got a barbecue pit and we would have people over, and we had a little backyard at the townhouse and a pool right outside of it. So we'd always have people over hanging out there and cooking and everything like that. And I've always had a passion for cooking, but it wasn't like, you know, top priority. Hey, I'm going to start out and, you know, create this seasoning company or anything like that. I actually wanted to stay in the Army longer. It wasn't until I started having issues with my ankle, and then to the point to where I had to have surgery with it. And then that surgery basically did nothing but make it worse. And then ended up leading to the point to where I was medically discharged out of the Army. And then I had to go and see a civilian doctor because the Navy doctor at Walter Reed did such a good job trying to fix me. I had to go through a full reconstruction of my left ankle. And I've had 3 other surgeries since then, with one being in May of this year.
Wow.
Damn.
But I mean, knock on wood, we're about 90% back to normal, and that's about as good as it's going to get for this ankle. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much was it. And at the old guard, the way a normal rotation would work for people who don't know is like you works off of a 4-week rotation. Supposed to, and Jay can attest to this because it never ever was a normal rotation there. But you're supposed to be doing funerals for 1 week, ceremonies for another week, field training for the 3rd week, and then you're supposed to have an off week, or what they call recovery, for your 4th week. Normally what would end up happening is we would do funerals, we would do ceremonies, we would normally skip going to the field because we're the old guard and we don't even have enough IBAs to issue to everyone. And so we wouldn't go to the field. We would cover down on ceremonies and funerals for the other companies because we were so shorthanded and we were doing so many funerals. And then we, on our off week, would do more funerals and ceremonies and then go right back into that rotation. So it was pretty much nonstop. I know a lot of the people with family lived off post, enjoyed being at that unit. 100%, Jay. Like it's so like amazing, especially I'm glad I got to be in operations right before I got out to see like how well, like we could like on paper structure everything. And then whenever it's time to go, it's just like, what the fuck, guys? But I mean, that's pretty much with everyone and everywhere. So yeah, I mean, that was our normal rotation. Really not a whole lot of field work or anything like that. Funeral ceremonies. I know for me, I was in an escort platoon, so we would do full honor funerals. A typical, the majority of the time I was there, we would be booked every single day. So for anyone that doesn't know, for a full honors team, you start off with your first funerals at 9 in the morning. You have another one at 11. You have another one at 1300, and you have another one at 1500. And it's basically depending on what religion they are will dictate how long it is and or how long the priest wants to talk. Sometimes they go on for a hot minute. Sometimes it's, a 15-minute funeral. So depending on what religions you get throughout the day and what priests you get throughout the day will dictate if you get to go back, if you get to use the restroom in between funerals, and how your day was going to go. And then at the end of every day, it's just uniform prep. That's one of the highest, levels at the old guard is uniform outside of drill and ceremony. And God, it was such a pain in the ass while you're there. But, thankfully, like that's led into like so many great things that's just like drilled inside of my brain now, that has helped me with the company and helped me just grow as a person. So unbelievably grateful for that. But what ended up happening is after having that mishap with the surgery, you're entitled to a second opinion for another surgery inside the military. They took me to the doctor directly next door to the doctor who did that surgery. And then he called the doctor who did the surgery in to get his opinion on what he thought would be a good idea to do. And then that surgery would have left me non-weight bearing for almost a year on my leg. I said, absolutely the fuck not. I went to PA and I was just like, I'm out of, like, what do I do? Like, I don't trust these people. Like I never had anything like that go so bad and still be in the same position, but worse. She was like, well, I can medically discharge you, or you can change your MOS. Cause it was like right at the very end of my contract. And it was like, okay, like, I guess we're just going to do the medical discharge route. So at that time I had a really good buddy, Miller, who was in with us. He wanted to be a helicopter pilot. And I started looking into like, hey, like how much does a helicopter pilot make? We were throwing around the idea like, well, if I can get my ankle fixed, I'd love to go over and do some contracting. If I'm not going to be back in the Army, like go over, do some time overseas, do my part and feel like I've, finished that last little check mark off on there. And then we ended up bouncing around back and forth, trying to find schools, trying to figure something to use the GI Bill. And I found a place in Waco, Texas that accepted the GI Bill to become a commercial airline pilot. So I was like, all right, cool. I was like, man, it can't be that hard. I've met some of the pilots and I'm like, damn, they trust you. So ended up moving back to Texas, starting that program. And unlike the last college, they accepted me. I started going through it. And then I realized really quick, like flying can be fun if, it was us three inside the plane. But whenever you're flying commercial, it's like driving a school bus in the sky with a lot more rules and regulations. So I was like, man, like, I don't know about this. And then on top of that, I really didn't like school. So that was a whole entire another thing. So with that, I I came to like a hard road of like, man, do I really want to do this? And it's like, I'm using my GI Bill. Let me just finish going down this route, trying it and see what happens. At that time, I had started playing around more and more with some seasonings and potentially like, I don't know, I was just bored and experimenting with it. My childhood best friend who I signed the PO papers for, he was still in Houston. And I was like, hey man, like I'm taking over the firework business for my sister. Like I'm going to expand it. We're going to blow this thing up. Like, let's do this. So my second semester during the summer, I had requested off to have a certain amount of time that I could be away from school. I said, hey, if I get all my flying done first, like, am I good? They're like, yep, all my other courses are online. Hey, you're squared away. Go back to Houston. And I had basically set up everything to where it would line up perfect. The last day of fireworks season where we would shut everything down was a Sunday. That Monday, I went right back to school. We had a hugely successful time, way better than we thought it was going to do. So I'm on like cloud 9. And on that Sunday afternoon, I get an email from the school saying, hey, you've missed your 8th absence out of 7 allowable absences, and you were kicked out of this program. Oh, damn. And it's just like, what the fuck? Well, come to find out, all of the administrative staff for the school is gone whenever I get back. So it's like, everyone's just like, yeah, I don't know. Sorry. So, so basically I had a week to do like nothing, just sit at my apartment in Waco. And that's where I kind of started kicking around a lot of the ideas on doing something with it. I just didn't know what to do with it. And that next weekend, I went back to Houston to go ride my dirt bike at one of the tracks down there. And I was staying at my parents' place. My dad is the one who actually came up with the name Grill Your Ass Off. He was like, hey, yeah, you know, like, what if you called it Grill Your Ass Off? And I was like, I don't know, like, because of the word ass, like no big box store would carry it. And I was just like, it's funny, I get it, but I don't think I'm going to do anything with it. So went on about my day. And then shortly after that, I ended up talking with Abraham, who Jay is very well aware with. And talking to Abraham, it just kind of brought me back to being like with the guys and like the humor aspect of it. And, you know, that made me laugh and then made me think of Grill Your Ass Off and how like, it's just fun and funny to say. Right. And like, and no matter any situation, like you're talking about a donkey or you could be talking about, you know, someone's ass, like it's totally up to you, but we have a donkey on it. Just be safe. And I mean, some of the funniest times is whenever people are walking by with their kids and their kids like looked at it and they're like, oh shit, can I say it? It was like humor, and it made me think about like how humor, especially dark humor, got us through all of the toughest times that we have had and we have been through during our time of service. The next thing was what brought us all together. That doesn't matter race, religion, politics. If we just got in a fight with each other, you bring down food like chow time, everyone shuts up and enjoys each other's time together. So it's like, bro, I'm like sitting on a fucking two of the greatest things about being together with your brothers and sisters. And so with that, I started contacting guys like Abraham and Miller and Edwards and all these guys that I served with. And it's like, hey, you know, I'm thinking about doing this steak seasoning. What should I call it? And then going down all these different rabbit holes. And initially I had the steak seasoning done first before everything else. And it's like, I'm going to call this one Ma Deuce, because the original, you know, nickname for all the seasonings were going to be different, like nomenclatures of ammunition. And the weapon system. So I was like, cool, I'll call this Ma Deuce. It's got the heaviest granulates inside of there. And then I was like, nah, that's kind of gay. Like everyone's fucking done something like that before. So the next one that I had was Willie Pete. And the first thing that popped in my head, I'm like, man, white chicken, like white meat, white phosphorus, Willie Pete. I was like, oh shit, I'm going to call it that. And then like Claymore. So originally I was born in Beaumont, Texas. And being in Beaumont, you're right there next to the Gulf of Mexico. And then being that close to Louisiana as well, you have a ton of Cajun food. So if I was going to do a Cajun seasoning, I could not fuck that one up. And with that, that seasoning right there, I had no idea what to name it. And, looking at it, it was like, okay, this one has the least amount of ingredients out of all 4 of these seasonings, but I feel like packs some of the biggest amount of flavor. And I was like, sounds like a Claymore to me. So we called it Claymore Cajun seasoning. And then with the pork seasoning, I was like, it's common sense, infidel. And so one of the things that I really love doing, like with the names, was like reuniting with these guys I served with, but also on the very old bottles. They used to have a certain verbiage on the bottom of it. And I talked with my guys on, hey, how do we get it to where we laugh at it and understand it, but a civilian can pick it up and think about it and like kind of put the 2 and 2 together. And one of the things I talked to Abraham about on infidel is like, how do I bridge this gap? Like, what's the definition? Because if you look up infidel, it's a fucking dictionary on what exactly it means. And so he was like, just put a term meaning American greatness. And so that term right there, ironically enough, about 2 years after that is what got me banned on Amazon.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah. So that's one of the reasons why we made a small switch to the labels, and the stuff, little things like that aren't on there anymore. So yeah, I mean, that was the original 4. You had Ma Deuce, Willie Pete, Claymore, and Infidel. And that my goal with that was like kind of cover the categories. You got stuff for beef, you got stuff for chicken, pork, and then Cajun seasoning you can use for seafood, but as well everything else.
Well, that was the next question that came through from Google. Wilma Bam wanted to know what's your favorite recipe in seasoning.
That's a hard one because we've done so many. Honestly, as simple as it is, my favorite seasoning overall is still Claymore. Because you just put the shit on everything, and it's great. But one of my favorite recipes to do, and I hadn't done it in a while, and I actually just did it Sunday here at the house, is I have a infidel glazed pork chop recipe. And it gives you like almost like a Vietnamese style sweetness pork once it's finished. Not too terribly spicy or anything like that. And that one, it just like flashback because the cookbook we did about 2.5 years ago, and I was like, holy shit, I forgot how good this stuff was. So honestly, that or the taco recipe that we're going to be filming this weekend. That's a new one that I've been working on for a while. Normally, like if it's a good recipe, I've made it about 5-6 times and then tweaked it, and then forget to write stuff down. So then I have to make it one more time.
I've seen the commercials for you, I think, all week ever since I posted that you were going to be on the show. All of a sudden, you're in my algorithm now. So everything on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn has been Jason Murff and Grill Your Ass Off. And I kept seeing the Sailor Jerry stuff.
Yeah.
What was your inspiration for that besides the great tasting Sailor Jerry?
It was hilarious because like Sailor Jerry wasn't even on like our roadmap. I hadn't even thought about it because the last time I had it, we were on a freaking party bus. We were all underage. But for whatever reason, we got a hookup on Sailor Jerry. So all of us snuck Sailor Jerry on this party bus and just downed it. So the last thing I remember is that party bus, and then all of us just like projectile vomiting by the end of the night. So yeah, it had been a few years, and then I'm actually at my parents' lake house for Easter, and James shoots me over a text message. He's like, hey, I just forwarded you an email. It went to the main company email. I think it's spam, but you might want to look at it. And it was Sailor Jerry, their PR team had shot us an email.
Oh, wow.
But since it was a different domain and the verbiage that they used, it was like one of those like, I don't know. So I just responded back on a whim and jumped on a Zoom call with them. They're like, yeah, like our whole entire like PR team and the Sailor Jerry team sat down and we love what you're doing. We've all had your products and we love them. Like, will you guys make us a barbecue sauce? And I was like, holy shit. Like, yeah, I would love to, but on one condition. And they're like, okay. I was like, you guys were founded by a veteran. I founded this company as a veteran. Let's give back with this product. So, you know, a portion of our proceeds go back to different nonprofits all throughout the year from Grill Your Ass Off. But I was like, let's do 50% back of every single bottle sold on this thing. And like, let's step it up and make a difference with this one. And the Sailor Jerry team was just like, yeah, let's do it. Let's go. They were all about it. Some of the greatest people I've worked with, not their legal department, but hey, working with spirits is a whole lot different than seasonings.
Yes.
I'll tell you that. So that was, but I mean, that's all good stuff to learn as, you know, we grow inside a business. So that was a real cool one. And we do a lot of work with the Independence Fund. They're based out of Charlotte, North Carolina. And I was introduced to them, and thankfully I've had the opportunity to go to a few of these now. And it's a program, they do more programs than I have fingers and toes. Like, it's insane the impact that they do and the different things that they do. But they have one that stood out to me, and that was Operation Resiliency. And there's all sorts of different retreats that you can go on as a veteran, you know. But one of the things that I see and that they saw is you go on some of these retreats and it'll be like, you know, 10 to 20 veterans, but they're all from different branches, from different units, and you have no idea who the guys are. And, you know, that's, as a veteran, it's almost like a cancer survivor. You instantly have that connection with someone and you can make it work. But it's a lot more different than the guys that you were in the shit with. And what they do is they take the whole entire company of soldiers who were deployed in a high combat environment, and they bring them back together for a 4 to a 5 day mental health retreat that's 100% paid for by them. And they do a lot of really cool things, like, for instance, I was able to do one to where we brought all the guys together for what they call a brotherhood bonfire on Saturday night. And I taught them a steak cooking class. And then once we were done with that class, we were able to turn around and give each one of the soldiers a ribeye and partner them up in teams. And they were able to cook themselves dinner and then sit down and share that dinner together. And that right there was like one of the most pinnacle things for me, is seeing this dumb concept of an idea of Grill Your Ass Off reach to that level and have the impact on those soldiers. And like, that night had just as big of an impact on me as it did those guys.
Outstanding. Independence Fund. Funny you mentioned they bought me a bike when I first got out of the military after I got wounded. So they got me a bike so I can get moving around again. So very good organization, and I'll always back them as well.
Yeah, and like one of the ones that I missed of their Operation Resiliency for the last surgery that I did on my ankle, Eads, who had served with Jay and me, was there. And I had no idea about it until he posted it on LinkedIn. I was like, what the heck? Like, the one I missed. So, we just got done doing our third batch of Sailor Jerry with them. So with this batch, we'll surpass the $15,000 donated off a single product.
Wow.
In the last 2 years. So we've been super pumped on that. And I'll let this out here. It's still probably about a month and a half away, but we're finalizing the artwork now. We're going to be coming out with a wild game seasoning that we're going to be doing something similar with military mobility.
Awesome. Steve, you had something?
Yeah, I have a question. You know, you talked about when you got home, you had 2 smokers. How out of control are you with grills and smokers now at your house? Because I was just at my cousin's, and he had the flat top grill. He had a regular grill. He had an egg. He had 2 smokers. He had 1 pot just to make a shrimp boil, and 1 pot for like deep frying turkeys. His deck was literally loaded. He had to buy the plot next to his house to put a pool in, and he's going to put a big ass kitchen there so he can do his barbecuing and everything. So, are you that bad? You laughing?
I can blame it on the company. I don't do a lot of frying things, so I don't need like a big turkey fryer or anything like that. I have one. It's at our warehouse. And I'm laughing because as you're saying this, I can see a barrel smoker right there. And then I have Traeger 1300. I got a Loco flat top, and then I got a Big Green Egg on the other side of that. Directly behind me inside my garage, I have 2 grills that are still inside the box that I haven't even opened yet. I just gave a Blackstone griddle away Sunday.
So you do have a problem, is what you're saying. Okay.
And that's just here at the house. We got a lot more at the warehouse. Like, I feel like sometimes like I'm very blessed and grateful that we've had a lot of amazing partners to work with through this. But sometimes it's like, I feel like Oprah. I'm like, all right, hey, I got to clean this stuff out. Like, who wants a grill?
Steve could always use one.
Well, yeah, because I love cooking.
Texas, that's going to be expensive to ship it up to you.
He'll just drive down. He'll come get it. He'll come down in his little car and get it. His Kia Soul.
Deal. Yeah. We'll strap it to the roof.
Yeah.
Hell, I've driven to Tennessee. I can drive down to Dallas.
It's not much further. It's only about 17 more hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. Short little hike.
You can make it.
Yeah.
You got the website's actually very easy to navigate. You have a quiz on there. I like that quiz. Was that something you thought up, or maybe one of your teammates said, hey, maybe we could put a quiz on there to get people to see what exactly they need?
We'd gone back and forth with the quiz. Like that's really the fun side outside of like, creating the product and experimenting with different flavors and all of that kind of stuff. It's the marketing, and it's the putting the parts together and the problem solving of entrepreneurship. That's what really I enjoy. And so little things like that. I'm constantly telling myself no, because I just want to go in and retweak stuff longer. Like, hey, this hasn't gone on long enough. Like, stop, you got to let it finish testing. So we have a amazing web team, and they're the ones who put that quiz together, because that one was a little bit above my pay grade whenever it comes to like some of the back end stuff. Will normally come up with the ideas, and I can do certain things to the website, but if I go too far, then I get yelled at because I broke it. So I have to tell myself whenever it comes to certain stuff on the site.
Get out.
Yeah.
So you told us about your journey from a grunt. Well, you were an entrepreneur before with your fireworks stand to save your buddy, and then he's still your friend now, and he's still with you. What advice would you give that other veteran coming out now, like Jay, who's now twiddling his thumbs in retirement, for him to become an entrepreneur?
You're going to still be a grunt. I mean, that's like the easiest way to say it. Truly, like, you're still a grunt. Like, big goals don't make a difference. Big work does. And that's one of the hardest things. Like, people see, especially like with how big social media is now, it's like everyone has like, hashtag entrepreneur inside of their freaking bio, and they think that they're, all this and that. And it's just like, whenever it actually takes off, it's a consistent nonstop, and you were the final failure point. There's no chain of command or blame to pass on or anything like that. It's 100% on you. And like Jocko Willink has the Extreme Ownership, and that book is 100% perfect for that, because you realize like, hey, 3 guys below me on our org chart fucked up. Well, guess what? That's still my fault, because I didn't train my staff the proper way, and I am a failure point for that. So one of the greatest things about military service is like, whenever it gets hard, just like whenever we served, rather than hate the fact that it sucks and you're going through the suck, you realize, hey, these are just sharpening the tools that I need to face tomorrow. And I mean, entrepreneurship is honestly a wake up, great kick in the dick. And then it's peaks and lows every single day. Yep. But at the end of the day, like I've been able to build this amazing company, and it's not just me, it's my amazing team that helps me get here and what gets us to the next level. So it's building that community back, just like we had serving together. That's just taken it to a total another level. It took me a while to kind of get that figured out. But now that we have that, it's a blast. So stay motivated, keep on going. And whenever shit gets tough, just like whenever we were in, I mean, even if it gets that bad, take it meal by meal. Be like, cool, I made it to breakfast. Like all I have to do is get to lunch.
Yep.
As Rich would say, stacking victories.
Yeah, 100%. Because I mean, a lot of people will think like, oh, hey, I saw you on Fox News on this Facebook ad. Like life must be great. Like some days it's not. Some days it is. It just depends. That's entrepreneurship for you.
Yeah, I like to tell people sometimes you're the bug, sometimes you're the windshield. You don't know what day it's going to be. So you got to make it. You got to make it when you get it. So when you have your good days, make them great days. When you have those bad days, make them forget about those bad days and go to the next one.
No, and it's just that too. It's like just because one thing goes wrong doesn't mean that it has to ruin your whole entire day. And that's one thing that like I always try and remind myself is like if you can still crush it and have a great day in a bad mood, that you don't have to have a bad mood because it's not a bad day. It's all a mental game.
100% mental. And well, Yogi Berra would say 90% mental, 18% physical, or something like that for baseball. Same thing for entrepreneurship. So.
Yeah. And you know, kind of going down this rabbit hole of stuff is like one of the biggest pieces of advice that I got and I still stick with today is the 80-20 rule. Instead of focusing on getting 100% of the work done, focus on getting, hey, I'm going to knock out at least 80%. And then that next time, whenever I look at the paper and I only have 20% more to go, I'm going to go 80% of that 20%. And you can knock out those goals versus like, you know, trying to go to sleep at night, your mind won't turn off because you didn't fucking hit 100% of the goal. And then you're just going to get screwed and just not even accomplish it. It's like, hey, I'm going to knock out 80% today or this week or this month for like bigger projects. Like we literally just started working on Black Friday and Cyber Monday today. It's like, we set our goal for September 15th. That's our 80% goal.
Yep.
So, I mean, and the bigger and bigger we get, the further and further and further out we have to go with all this kind of stuff because there's so many different levels to it, especially now branching out into different retail locations and making sure that they're set up and good to go. And we're, I mean, literally now until really January, like we have an event and a lot of times 3 to 4 events happening every single weekend outside of just the normal Monday through Friday work job. And some of them are huge trade shows. So it's like, I'll be in College Station doing an event this weekend. James will be in Las Vegas doing an event this weekend. The girls have this week off because they're going to be doing other events the following weekend. So yeah, it's just nonstop, but I mean, that's what's fun.
It keeps you going. So as long as everything's going well, we applaud you and you keep pushing forward. And if someone else wants you to have you on their show or just talk to you about the product, how do they get in contact with you?
Easiest way is just hit me up. You can either do it at Grill Your Ass Off. Instagram's normally the best thing to do on there. Same thing if you want to reach out to me directly. I don't even know. It's Jason Murff _3. And that's my personal one. So either one of those, reach out.
That's
and then we'll
IG or something?
Yeah, Instagram is normally the best. But you can do Facebook if you don't have Instagram. TikTok, I don't know. I don't go on there.
They'll find
you. I was going to say you're not on TikTok?
No, we are, but thankfully I don't run that account for the company. That's one less burden.
This has been great hanging out with you tonight. I know the audience was engaged. Me and Steve learned a lot tonight. Steve's probably going to order some stuff right after we get off here so he can start grilling for his family. It's awesome. Keep up the good work and keep ribbing Jay as much as you can to keep him pumped up too.
Oh, always. I'll never stop. Especially now that I have the correct phone number. So whoever I sent that text message right before the show went live, I'm sorry. But I'm ashamed that you haven't sent me the text back yet. So please do.
Well, they're just looking at it, trying to figure out why. Why did I get this?
Tuesday night church wondering why she has to make eggplant. So she's all right. All right. Y'all have a good night.
Yep. Thank you, guys.
Take care, Jason. Thank you.
This message is from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. Did you serve in the military? If so, you can obtain a free lifetime pass to more than 2,000 federal recreation sites. These sites are located across more than 400 million acres of public lands, including national parks, wildlife refuges, and forests. The lands host activities to fit any lifestyle: hiking, biking, fishing, camping, and much more. Gold Star families are also eligible for these free lifetime passes. Plus, they cover entrance fees for a driver and all passengers in a car, or up to 3 additional adults at sites that charge per person. Obtaining one is easy. Just go to the National Park Service website, nps.gov, or the National Park Service app.
Thanks for checking us out and being a part of the Misfit Nation show. Don't forget to visit our website at themisfitnation.com. That's themisfitnation.com. Check out all our past episodes and get some of the great Misfit Nation gear for you and your family. As always, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling, because we are
Misfit Nation. Misfit Nation.